everyone, welcome back to Bit by Knit with me, Jenny. I'm here today with you guys on the west coast of Canada in beautiful British Columbia. It is March the 25th today, I believe. 25th? Tuesday. And I've got lots of things to share with you guys today. It's been probably about a month since the last time I've recorded. In typical fashion, I usually am a month between recordings. It's not something that I intend to do, it's just the way it happens. But it actually works out really well for me because then I have lots to share. And I feel like if I did it weekly or even bi-weekly, I wouldn't have very much to share, and it would be a short episode, which is fine. I don't mind doing a short episode, but it's actually really nice when I watch long. I prefer to watch long episodes because then I can knit and watch a very long episode and not have to find another one every 20 minutes. So this is probably going to be a long episode. Okay. We're going to start with the very obvious finished object, which I am wearing. This is the Pressed Flowers Cardigan by Amy Christoffers, and I started this back in January. I actually have all the information written down in front of me, which is very impressive, you guys, because I don't usually prep for these videos. I just kind of wing it. Today, I'm not really prepped, but I do have the kind of journal that I made in front of me so that I can actually give hopefully good information here. Anyways, Pressed Flowers Cardigan by Amy Christoffers. It is, it's part of a series of pressed flowers items that she has. She's made like the pressed flowers shawl. I think there's pressed flowers gloves. There's the pressed flowers cardigan. I feel like there's a pressed flowers like pullover maybe as well, if I'm remembering right. It's a very lovely pattern. It is an all over mosaic knit. And it features these flower motifs, and it is a bottom-up pattern. And so you're starting with the cast on being your rib, and then you do a certain number of inches, and then you go into the pressed flowers pattern all the way up to just below the armpits. Then that's when you split off to do, like, it's kind of in 3 sections. You split off for the front, one of the fronts, I can't remember which one, whatever, front shoulder, you do the back, you do the next shoulder, like this part, and then as you do decreases for the shoulder seams, you connect the shoulder front to the shoulder back, like seam it together. That's the only thing I think was a bit confusing with this pattern, was the seaming of the shoulders. It doesn't explain in the pattern how to do it, so I just I YouTubed a video on it. And I did take some B footage of me wearing this, but I forgot to put in the seam here. So I'm going to try and do that quickly here. Right there. And then this side, let's see if I can get it. It's right here. And then once you've got that all seamed up, you pick up stitches all the way around for your sleeves, and then you just knit. See, like the whole cardigan is knit back and forth, and then the sleeves are knit in the round. And then you do decreases right at the cuff, and you do your ribbing, and then you bind off. And it doesn't say in the pattern to do any like fancy bind off, it's just bind off in rib stitch sort of thing. So easier. I was considering doing an Italian bind off, but I did not do an Italian cast on, so it wouldn't have matched with the bottom. And I didn't think I had time to do it either, so I just did a normal bind off, and I think it looks pretty good. I'll come up close again and show you my bind off here. So I think that looks pretty neat. And then after you do all that, you pick up for the button band. And it's just ribbing. Button band is not a double knit button band, which is much easier. And then the buttons are pretty small that they call for. There's like, I think 6 buttons that they call for, and they're pretty small, so the buttonholes are pretty small as well. And I think actually I did my buttonholes a little bit wrong, if you will. Like it's a slip stitch, knit 2 together, slip stitch. No, sorry, knit 2 together, yarn over, buttonhole. And when I came back to that yarn over, I knit it so I twisted it. That back loop, It was as a twisted knit into it, so it actually tightened it even more than I think it would have been otherwise, which I'm actually happy with because the buttons are so small. I didn't want them to slip out. So like that's the size of my buttonhole. It's pretty small, which I appreciate because then I've never had the buttons slip out of them accidentally, so that's a good thing. Okay, so a little bit more info about my my Pressed Flowers cardigan. I knit this with Bramble Ridge's hand-dyed yarn. She's actually discontinuing it. She has the Woolen Spun Sport Weight yarn, which is this purple one. I don't believe is going to be selling it anymore. So like whatever's left in her stock, once it's gone sort of thing. And then I combined it with, she had hand spun the flowers yarn that I used. And so I bought, or I was gifted, well, I kind of bought, it's a long story, a skein of her hand spun yarn to make the flowers. And I had 3 skeins of the purple and 1 big skein of the hand spun. So the hand spun was 200 grams, I believe. It was like 700 meters. And then the purple woolen spun was normal, like 100 grams. Actually have the info right here. 100 grams, and it is 300 meters. So I used just over 2 skeins of the purple. So this is how much I have left of the purple. It's probably at least half full. So I'd say I'd use 2.5 skeins of the purple. I have about half left of that 3rd skein. And for her hand spun one, I actually have a fair amount of that left too. I didn't weigh it, but I want to say it's probably 50 grams at least. I have what's left in here and then a little bit on my toilet paper roll improvisation here. So if you're wondering why I have like a little bit on a toilet paper roll, it's because I was trying to do a little bit of color management for the front anyways. There was not very much of this kind of purple color here. Here I come up again. This purple color here, I wanted to try and match my front panels with that as best as I could so that it looked half decent when I was wearing it, like it lined up. I didn't do it with the back. The back is like not even, I don't even know if there's any purple on the back actually. It's not matching. But the front matches a little bit. I have it lined up a little bit. It's a little higher on one side than the other side, and so it's not perfect, but it's pretty decent. And I did try to do the same with the sleeves and did not accomplish that goal. I did this sleeve first, and so I ended with that little bit of pink at the bottom. And it was not part of this ball, it was in a different ball. And so I decided to save that last part of the pink for the last part of this sleeve. So I started at the other end of the other ball that I had for the top, and I knit my way down hoping to end on the pink, and I didn't quite match it up properly. So when the pink ran out, that was the end of that ball. Then I had to dip into this one a little bit for this last little bit. So it does look a little, it's definitely not matchy-matchy. And when you see it in pictures, I took a picture of it afterwards, it almost looks like this part of the sleeve is non-existent for the flower pattern because it's so much darker than this part. It almost looks like it's just the purple or I don't even know. It just doesn't look the same. So it does, I think side by side, look like it might not be the same pattern on the sleeves, but in person and up close, it does look like I have the flower pattern there. Okay with that. I don't mind. It's not something that bothers me. It's not something I would ever rip out to fix. I don't care enough to try and color match. It's meant to be a little chaotic, I think, because of the process of mosaic knitting and the fact that you're supposed to be using your own hand spun, or you buy like a hand spun yarn sort of thing, so it's not uniform through the flower part. and the cohesion comes with the purple part. So I also wanted to say about this, I should say the name of the, yeah, here we go. So Megan, from Bramble Ridge, when she did her own, when she spun this, she did leave a little card on it so that you could know what it was. Oh, actually, it was a little less than 200 grams. So it's a Randolph silk called Hello Yarn, and the weight was actually 177 grams, 645 meters, 705 yards. So it's actually less than 200 grams, and I still have a fair amount left. So I'm thinking what I might do. I don't know actually if I do want to do this or not. I'm going back and forth on it. I really like how it looks. I think it is very sleek, I guess. It's like a nice length. It's got a good, I can wear it with my high-waisted jeans with a shirt tucked in. It looks very nice. But I'm almost tempted to put pockets on it because this is quite a bit of leftover yarn that I have. And I feel like pockets would be a good solution to use it. But I'm not sold on that because if I do outside pockets, so if I have it just like attached to the outside, there's a good chance that it's going to like flare out, like kind of bubble out like usually pockets do if you attach them on the outside, they'll kind of bubble out. The other option is to put a pocket on the inside and cut into my pattern to be able to have inside pockets. My fear with that is that I'm going to destroy my stitches and I'll lose stitches and I'll like ruin it. So I don't know. I'm very unsure. I'd rather do the outside pockets because then I'm guaranteed not to have to, I won't ruin anything. I don't have to cut into my cardigan at all, but I think the inside pockets would look better. So I don't know. I'm at a loss. We'll see. I might just never use that scrap because I'm too terrified to put pockets on this because I do like how it looks without the pockets, but it's nice to have pockets to like put your hands in. So a little more for my knitting journey on this sweater. I feel like I'm going back and forth on this. I talked about the yarn, let's talk about the sweater again, even though I already talked about the sweater. Anyways, it's fine. For my needles, I used a 3.25 millimeter needle for my ribbing and my cuffs and my button band. And then for the pattern, I used 4 millimeter needles. I believe in the pattern itself, it calls for 3.5 millimeter needles for the mosaic. But I'm such a tight knitter that I didn't even swatch it at that size. I swatched it with the 4 millimeter needles, and because I just knew I would probably need to size up. So I didn't even bother with the recommended. I went right to the 4 and I liked the swatch. So that's what we did. I went with the 4 millimeter for the pattern, and I think it's a good choice. That's my swatch. I think it was a good choice to just go to the 4 millimeter. I feel like it fits perfectly. I was a little worried throughout the process that it was going to be a little small, so it's not. So I'm very glad. I'm happy with the result there. And for the gauge, it was 24 stitches in 44 rows would be the 4 inches in pattern. So I'm pretty sure I reached that actually pretty bang on with my swatch, even though I didn't wash it, so I probably actually grew. I know it grew. I did a size 2 for the body. So when I was knitting this up and I was like attaching the shoulder and like putting it on and seeing how deep the armhole was before I picked up stitches for the sleeves, I was a little worried that it was going to be too tight at the underarm. And so I decided to size up on the arms. And so instead of picking up the amount of stitches for the size 2, I picked up the amount of stitches I would need for a size 3 for the armhole. And then I didn't bother. There's like, right after you pick up, shortly after, you're supposed to do some decreases. And I didn't bother doing the decreases because I kept trying it on and I kept thinking that it still feels snug enough on my upper arm that I don't think decreases are a good idea. And so I didn't bother decreasing at all until the bottom. I did that rapid decrease to be able to do my cuff. And it doesn't even look like you can't even, I don't even think you can really tell that there are decreases there because it's pretty uniform in size. It's almost the same. So it does make it look like I have a pretty, like, it's a lot of room in the bottom of my sleeve, but it's not a ton in the top. So I could have probably decreased a little here, but I don't mind it. I think it's really comfortable. It's really cozy. I can put a long sleeve shirt underneath, no problem. I have a short sleeve shirt on today. I have put this into like sleeves of a jacket and it's not a problem. So I'm actually glad that I didn't bother doing the decreases. I think it looks nice. I think it would have looked maybe a little strange to have the decreases just in the forearm, maybe. I don't know. I'm glad I didn't anyways. And then I also added, I think it called for 13.5 inches before the ribbing on my size, and I decided to do 15.5 inches because when I tried it on at the 13.5, it was like a pattern repeat too short. And so I just went with another pattern repeat before the cuff and took the chance of it not growing too much lengthwise. Because I didn't block throughout this, I just winged it, if you will. And I'm glad that I did that extra pattern repeat, because even with blocking and a little bit of growth, it still hits me right kind of, right after the wrist, right before my thumb joint there. And I like that length because I feel like when I'm doing things, it goes up to my wrist and it's not going too high, and I can, like, rolling it up this way doesn't really work. I do have to fold it up to get it out of my way, but that's okay because it folds up nice and it goes up high. So yeah, all in all, I'm really happy with it. The only thing, and it's not an issue at all, but you might have noticed maybe as I'm talking and moving, this is so the underarm is your beginning of round, and the pattern repeat hits back to back right there. So you have two flowers essentially side by side. Is that focusing? Yeah. Going down the seam of the inside of the arm, which is not a big deal. You're not really going to be seeing that part of it very often anyways, so it's fine. And then as for the buttons that I used, I ordered these buttons on Etsy. I will link the Etsy page below. It's a Canadian company or person, and I just wanted cute little metal buttons I thought would look really nice with this because of the darker yarn that I used. I thought it'd be really pretty to have metal buttons, and I wanted maybe a flower motif just to make it cohesive with my flower mosaic. So I'll bring one up close. This is what they look like. Try and show it. I'm not sure if that's focusing. If it didn't focus, I will put a picture as well, showing them off. Okay, I think that's all that I had to say. Is there anything else? I don't think so. So on my, you know what I should actually say also, so the start date that I did this on, I started this cardigan on January the 28th, 2025, and I finished it on March the 20th, 2025. And that was, I decided to mark my finish date from when it finished blocking and when the buttons were on, so completely finished. I didn't do the finish date based on my knit finish, just on the actual completion of when I can wear it finished. So I finished it on March 20th, blocked, washed, dried, blocked, whatever, buttons on. And that was really good timing because on March the 21st, I was needing to wear it for an event I was at, which I will talk about later. I also used Knit Companion, which is a free app you can get. You can have the free version, and if you want upgraded version, you can pay for it. So I have the free version of Knit Companion because it was so much easier to read the mosaic stitch pattern on Knit Companion than it was to have like the paper in front of me or try to read it off my phone without Knit Companion. Because the nice thing, and like I do not sponsor, I'm not getting paid, I'm not sponsored by Knit Companion, but I do appreciate it because when you're doing a bit of a complicated pattern, for me anyways, I like Knit Companion because it has a highlight bar. So you can move the highlight bar up to the next part that you're at and know exactly which part of the pattern you're on instead of trying to remember, I'm on 11, row 11 or whatever of this pattern. You can just move the highlight bar. And then the other nice thing about it, because especially with this one, you're going back and forth with the majority of the knit, it also has a red bar going vertically down, so you can mark on this which side you're on. So if you're going right to left, you can have the red bar at that start, and then when you're going the opposite way, left to right, you can move the bar over so that you know that you're on this side. Even though the numbers are lined up to show that too, it's just so much easier to look at a bar, I think. Anyways, I just really appreciated that. It was so much easier for me to be able to look at the pattern and know where I am. And it was so much less of a headache for me to do this pattern. It was very enjoyable. And so anyways, the reason I'm telling you this is because I had the app open pretty much the whole time I knit this. The only times that I didn't was when I was doing my ribbing, because I don't need it for that. So essentially, almost the whole time I was knitting this, the app was open. And when you have the app running, it records the amount of time that that pattern is accessed. And so I could tell how long I'd been knitting on this pattern. Whew, that was a lot of stuff just to tell you that. So anyways, the amount of time that this app recorded for how long I had knit on this project was 102 hours and 27 minutes, which is not 100% accurate because, like I said, it wasn't open for my ribbing and stuff. So probably was, I'm going to say 105 hours or 110 hours max, I feel like. But that's like a really long amount of time. That's a lot of hours to be working on one project. And I pretty much knit this monogamously, and I'm not necessarily a monogamous knitter, but I needed this done by a certain date. So I had to be for this, and I'm glad I was because I made the cutoff in time. And if you want to see my little project book, this is what I'm reading it off of. This is the journal that I got from an Etsy store. It's called Crochet and Knitting Planner. And yeah, so I've got my Pressed Flowers Cardigan written down in that. See if I can focus. I don't know if it's focusing, you guys, but this is it. And then it also lets you rate it afterwards. And so I gave it 5 stars all around. Pattern 5 stars, yarn 5 stars, project overall 5 stars, enjoyment 5 stars, because it was enjoyable. I never really felt at one point or another like I need to put this down and it needs to go in timeout. Nothing like that. It was very good, enjoyable knit. I think that's all I have to say about this. That was a lot of information for one project. On to the next one. I have another finished object that I want to talk about as well. I'm just going to see if I have a page for it. I feel like I do. Okay, here we go. Okay, so then the other one, actually I think it was almost finished. That's right, it was almost finished on my last video. I have not worn these at all because I really wanted to be able to show them pristine. In my last video, I did try to put the finished one onto sock blockers and unsuccessfully very much failed at that because I have sock blockers. I got them in my advent from Twice Sheared Sheep from this past Christmas, and it's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle sock blocker. So they come in pieces and you can puzzle them together so they are the right size for your foot, which is in theory genius. In reality, I could not get the pieces to stay together for the ones that I could attach, and then I couldn't attach some of them because it just wasn't, it was too tight of a fit. So in the end, I don't think I'll be able to use those sock blockers. I might buy, I don't know, I might buy sock blockers, but it's like, I find that whenever I see them, they always look like they're stretching out the socks too much, and I don't have a very wide foot necessarily. And so I'm worried that it'll stretch it out and be too loose on my foot. So anyways, all that to say, these are not on sock blockers, but I have socks. They're finished. Okay, so these socks are toe-up socks. I just watched the video and the tutorial, because there's a page as well, a website, from Nimble Needles to do toe-up socks. You do like a Judy's Magic cast on, I believe, for the bottom. And then you're just doing increases until you reach a certain amount of stitches that you want, and then you knit, 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 knit. I did a boomerang heel, and then knit, 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 and the cuff. Very simple. It's just a vanilla sock. It's not, there's no pattern. I use self-striping yarn from Turtle Pearl. I feel like I said the name wrong on my last episode, but I'm pretty sure it's Turtle Pearl. She's Canadian. I think she's on the east coast of Canada. And she does self-striping yarn. This yarn, I don't know where I put the tag for the name of this colorway, and I could not find it on her website, so I'm not sure if she even dyes this colorway anymore. But I still have, like, oh, come on. There we go. I still have a fair amount left here. I have about 30-ish grams each from each sock left here. And they were no, that can't be right. That's not right. How much do I have left? I think what I used was 33 grams. So each sock weighs 33 grams. So I have 17 grams left per sock, which isn't necessarily enough for a sock on its own. I'll talk about that in a sec. But anyways, I think they're both 33. So I couldn't use up a whole 50-gram ball, because what she does, I feel like I'm all over the map here, you guys, I'm sorry. What she does is she takes 100 grams and splits it. So you're getting exactly 50 grams each, and they are exactly lined up for the pattern. So the amount of black, the amount of, like, the start, I think because I started here, the amount of black on the tip of the toe is the same from one ball to the other ball, so that it lines up. And so what I ended up doing was, whichever sock I started with, I knit to the length that I wanted, and then I pretty much just did the second sock based on the striping. I didn't even measure it. Here, let's bring this up close. And I didn't bother with the striping here for the cuff. I didn't bother doing like a knit stitch to make it look more neat when the blue transitioned into the black. I just went with it. And for both of them. And actually this one ends nicely. I did line that up nicely for my cast off. This one I have a little bit of red for the cast off because I didn't realize I was so close to running out of black. I had to dip into the red a tiny bit there. But that's okay. It's a sock. And I don't usually knit such long socks, but because they were because it was self-striping yarn, I thought, oh, I can just do a nice long sock and I'll use up the whole ball of yarn. If I had used up the whole ball of yarn, this would have gone up to like my knee. So I didn't. So what I ended up doing was I just knit till I think I did 60. I don't even know how many rounds I did. Whatever amount of rounds I did, I didn't count. I just went to the length that I thought looked good for a longer sock. And then what I have left over, which I showed already, I wanted to just get a neutral color yarn to be able to do heels, toes, and cuffs with, and then I can use the rest of this up, and hopefully I'll at least get a shorty sock out of that. More on that later. Okay. Let's see. I used 2.5 millimeter needles for this for the socks. I did do 2.25 millimeter needles for the cuff though, and then I switched to the 2.5. Or I guess I used 2.5, and then when I got to the cuff, I switched to 2.25. And I don't know if I will do a boomerang heel again. I just find that it feels like it's holy at that last stitch when you're joining it back into the toe. Here, I'll show you exactly what I mean. So there is a nice little hole there. Nice little hole right there. And I got that on both sides and both socks. And so I just don't think, I don't know if I was doing something not quite right with joining the yarns, but there are other short row heels that I can try. And I'm sure that, I mean, I've done other short row heels and they've not resulted in those big gaps, but I've also never done toe up socks, so maybe it has something to do with that. But I'll try a different kind of short row heel next time, and hopefully it'll be less holy. It's nice to try all the different ones though. And I also feel like, so what I ended up doing with these socks is I did 64 stitches, and that's actually not usually my sock stitch amount. Usually I do 56, but I was a little worried because when I was doing these toe-up socks, I was trying them on as I was going, and it felt like, oh, this is going to be too tight, this is going to be too tight. So I said, might as well do 64, because then I know it's not going to be too tight. And I actually regret not going with my gut and knowing my sock size is usually 56, because it is a bit loose on my foot. And I also went to a tutorial on how long you need it before putting in the heel. And it was like 21 inches or 22 inches for my foot size. And I'm like, that just feels too long. But I didn't know because I've never done toe-up before, so I just went with it. And it is a bit too long, so it's a bit baggy. So the next time I do the toe-up socks, which I'm going to do with that last little bit of self-striping yarn, I will do 56 stitches, and I will do a shorter length before I do the heel. Probably 20 inches will be accurate. And these socks I cast on January 29th, 2025, and I finished them on February 21st, 2025. Okay. I actually did a pretty good rating. The pattern was a 4 out of 5 just because I wasn't happy with the boomerang heel that it called for. Yarn, 5 out of 5. This is a really nice yarn. It feels really soft. It was really pleasant to work with. Project overall, 5 out of 5. And the enjoyment was 5 out of 5 because it's really fun watching those stripes emerge. Okay, so those are my finished objects, just the 2. Because this one took me so long. I do have 2 works in progresses. Well, I have many works in progresses, but the only ones that I've really worked on are what I'm going to show today. I do have the northeasterly blanket, but I've only added maybe a stripe or 2 since I showed it last, so I'm not pulling that out. I do intend to get a plain yarn to go with it because I was trying to do calculations, and I think I actually will want it bigger than it will be if I just use the yarn I have from the Advent. So I wanted to get a neutral to put between the stripes. So it will be like Advent stripe, neutral stripe, Advent stripe, neutral stripe. Yeah, so that's the plan. I don't have that yet. And then I was working on the rib, what was it? It's that rib cami by, anyways, I'll put maybe the info here. Here. Mixed Rib Cami. There we go. By Florence Miller. There we go. Mixed Rib Cami by Florence Miller. I haven't touched that since before the last episode even. So that's a lingering whip that I need to go back to eventually. I think that was really kind of all the whips that I've been showing the last little while. So anyways, those are not going to be in this episode. So the other 2 that I'm going to show you, I just cast on recently. After this, I was like, cast-on-itis hit, you know? And I needed to cast on things. So I ended up starting with, so the first one I'm going to show you here, I'm actually going to probably frog. I'm 99% sure I'm going to frog this because I will tell you as I'm showing it, but I'm going to show it anyways because I'm a decent way in, and I do have some B footage that I will roll as well to show it on me to help understand why I'm going to be frogging it. One sec. I just got a visitor. My dog's in here now. Okay, anyways. So this is the Monday sweater. This is the Monday sweater by Petite Knit that I started. I cast it on March the 20th. So pretty much, yeah, the day that I finished this, I cast this on. I was just desperate to get like a something quick. So this is what I decided on. This is yarn that I bought in Seattle back in October when I went there with my friend. It's this yarn here. I bought 5 skeins. It is Yarn Dragon was the store, and it's an American DK 100% superwash merino. It is 100 grams for 216 yards, and the name is Adirondack. I can never say the name. I've said it so many times and wrong. I'm sure. I think it's a dragon name or a dinosaur name or something like that. Anyways, I feel like okay, so this is a DK weight yarn, and I'm almost convinced that it's more of a worsted weight yarn because the pattern I'm knitting, the Monday sweater, is a DK weight pattern. I'm like, perfect. I did a gauge swatch, and I went up a needle size for my gauge swatch because, as I do, I'm a tight knitter, so I usually go up a needle size. This is my gauge swatch. I do realize it's not in the round. And it probably should have been. In my hubris, I was like, I think my knitting in the round is the same as my knitting flat, so I'll just knit it flat. And it did block it. And then I measured it, and it was too big. So I did the needle size that Petite Knit recommends, which is 4mm, I believe, 4mm needle. So this was on 4.5. So I did a 4mm needle, and it is too tight. I did the ribbing in the recommended 3.5mm needle. It is a folded over neck, and I actually really like that. It's a good size, and it stretches beautifully. I did not line it up very well. And this is a me problem, because in the pattern, if anybody's knit this, in the pattern, she tells you exactly how to line up your neck when you're folding it over to pick up the stitches to knit it without it looking slanted. I followed those instructions, but it still looks slanted. And I think I should have watched the video that she attached to it. It's like one stitch over or something. It's a little slanted. It wasn't enough to bother me. I was just going to go for it. This actually, that side might be okay. I think it's more slanted on the front. I think the back turned out okay. I must have done something messed up on the front there. I don't know if you can really tell. I did show it in my bead roll as well. So it looks a little slanted, and then I was knit, and then I switched to the 4mm needles, knit, and it looks tight, and it feels tight, and there's not a lot of give on it, and I've done this before with other garments, and it doesn't loosen up with blocking, because I'm a tight knitter, and it's not, I don't know, it's not drapey, like when you look at her sample photo on her, it looks very drapey, and I do realize that in her photos, she is combining two yarns. She's doing two fingering weight yarns, like a mohair and a fingering weight. And so that typically is not as thick as a DK weight, I find. So I'm tempted to either, because this is a little bit off gauge. I did measure it. I didn't block it. So that's also probably not going to give me a proper measurement, but I did quickly measure it. And I am a bit tighter, like my stitches. I think you're supposed to have 21 stitches, and I have like 22 or 23. So it's definitely not as on gauge as it should be. But I'm also wondering if this is the right pattern for this yarn, because it's such a thick, I'm going to bring it up close so you can see like how thick this yarn is. Here, a nice little loop here. Let me see how thick this is. Doesn't that look thick for a DK? Let me compare it. I'm knitting up something else with another DK, so let me see if I can, without giving away too much of it, a little bit out here. Comparing this DK with this DK. Doesn't it look thicker? Anyway. I feel like it's a bit of a thicker DK. So I'm kind of tempted to not only frog it, but also choose a different pattern that's maybe a worsted weight pattern that might be a bit more suitable to this yarn. So this one I'm going to pause on. I'm not going to pause on it long. I'm going to maybe later today take a look again on Ravelry. I don't usually do this. I'm going to take a look on Ravelry and see if this specific yarn is linked to any patterns. I usually just go by the weight of the yarn. I don't ever check the yarn itself to a pattern, but because it's a bit thicker, I'm wondering if I should do that. So here's this up close, by the way. It's hand dyed, so it's a bit of a variety of the color. I don't know, that's not the right word. It's definitely like you don't have dye lots in this yarn. So I was helical knitting with this, which I started about halfway down. I started helical knitting, and I don't think you can see any sort of striping on that. I don't think you can tell where I started helical knitting. And like the other tell too that this is too tight perhaps is that I've already used up a ball of yarn, and that's when I started helical knitting, like here. When I started the helical knitting, like about there, and I've already run out of a ball of yarn. So that tells me that maybe it's a bit too, it's not quite the right pattern for this, because I don't think I'll have enough yarn then if I'm already running out of a ball of yarn and I'm not even split for sleeves yet. So anyways, that is that one. Kind of a failed. It was fun to get a new project on the go, and I'm glad that I started something, and now I know that maybe this isn't the right pattern for this yarn, but yeah, anyways, there's that. Okay. And then on March the 23rd, I started another project, and this yarn, okay, this is such a, so I've been helping out a local dyer, Bramble Ridge, Megan of Bramble Ridge. I'm actually pretty close to her proximity wise, and I've known about her and known her for several years now. And so I've been offering her some help here and there. And so she was going to be at the Fibres West. There we are. She went to Fibres West. She had a booth at Fibres West, which just happened this past weekend over March 20th and 21st and 22nd, sorry, the Friday and the Saturday. And for that market, she wanted to do a unique colorway to that market. So she came up with this beautiful colorway, and she was originally just going to call it eggs because she wanted it to look like natural colored eggs that you see, like kind of a spring, not Easter egg, brightness, but just the normal color that eggs come in. So you've got your like very muted browns and greens and beiges and speckling and all that beautifulness, which she did. And then with the way the world is these days, she ended up naming it The Price of Eggs, which is very fitting. So the Price of Eggs yarn, she had a prototype colorway, which wasn't quite what she wanted. So she had 4 skeins from the prototype in their DK, and she let me have it because it wasn't what she wasn't going to sell it anyways. It wasn't quite how she wanted it to turn out. This is not exactly how her colorway was at the market, but this is what I got from her, The Price of Eggs prototype colorway. She had 4 skeins, so I got 4 skeins of the DK. I'm going to bring the 2 unwound ones up close here. It's so pretty. It has like, you can see like some beautiful speckling here, and just this beautiful like blue running through. Just like little bits of speckling. I don't know if you guys can really see that. Anyways, oh, you know what? There's a really nice part right here too. Okay. So I needed to use this right away. It's so pretty. This is on her DK weight yarn. It is, I didn't get a tag with it because it was not anything that she was going to sell, but it's her DK weight. I believe it's 85% merino, like superwash merino, and 15% nylon, I think is the breakdown. So I did a little swatch. And I wanted to find a pattern that would allow me to have a variegated yarn without overshadowing a pattern, but still something unique, if that makes sense. So I went on Ravelry, and I found a pattern called the Party Top by Abby Knits, and it's perfect because in her picture, like her Ravelry photo, it shows that she used a variegated yarn, and it works perfectly for it. So it's like, essentially it's just a top-down raglan that's just knit stitches, except the sleeve has a bit of detail, has little eyelets in the sleeve. And so I'm like, that's perfect. So that's what I started on. I got that pattern and I've been knitting on that. I also took some B-roll of it, of me wearing it, so I can show that. And in the B-roll, I didn't bother checking to see if it was centered on me. So it was a little shifted. You're going to see maybe it looks off, and that's just a me problem. I didn't check to see that I put it on properly. But anyways, it's fine. So here is what I've got so far. You do twisted rib collar to start, and then you're just going right into knitting and increasing and doing the little eyelet pattern there in the sleeves right away. And it's really pretty. It's coming along so nicely. Like, this is just gorgeous. I'm really happy with how this is looking. It's so pretty. I'm on the first ball, and I am going to also do helical knitting with this. Once I get about halfway through the increases, I'm going to switch to helical knitting. So far, I'm just doing, I don't have this in yarn cozy. I'm just using one ball, but I've got my second ball ready to go here. This is how it looks all balled up. super pretty. And it's so soft. It's so soft and luxurious and beautiful to work with. I love it. So with the project, so I actually haven't looked all the way. Okay, that's not true. I've read through the whole, I always read through the whole project. That's not right. Pattern. There we go. I always read all through the whole pattern before I start a project because I highlight all of my sizes, increases, and like division of stitches and all that stuff. I highlight it also. It's easy to do when I'm actually knitting it. It's just quick to find where I am and what I need to do. I didn't read it super closely though, but I'm not sure if there are any short rows to shape the back at all. So far there is none. Once you do the collar and you start the pattern right away, she has no short rows in there. You're just working in the round. If she doesn't have any short rows after I finish, before I split for sleeves, I might just add some because like it kind of is essential in my mind to make sure that you're not having it ride up on the front of your neck and like feel like it's choking you. I know it's a bit of a wider neck, so I do have that like space there, but I still don't want it pulling down on the back and riding up on the front. So I'm gonna, if I don't see any short rows in the pattern itself, I'm going to look up a tutorial on how to add short rows after you do the all the increases and everything, because I understand why she couldn't add them for the sleeves, because if you're adding short rows and doing a sleeve pattern, I think it would be a lot of complication to get that in there. So when you're doing short rows, usually you do them starting with the sleeves, like you're knitting the back, and then when you get to a little bit into the sleeve, you do a short row, and then you go the next way and you do a short row in that sleeve, and back and forth you go, and then you usually end the short rows just after the raglan for the sleeves, so like a little bit at the very front. And it would be really hard to work around the pattern to do that. So I get it. So I'm hoping that there's short rows after the sleeves are done before you split for the sleeves and the body. But if there isn't, like I said, I'm going to see if I can just add them in, and hopefully that'll be easy peasy. Let's see. So the pattern calls for 700 yards, but it's a cropped pattern, and I probably have 800 yards, no, maybe 1,000 yards. I might have 1,000 yards. I think about 250 per skein. So then I can make it longer, which I want to do anyways, and I can make the sleeves longer, because I also think the 700 yards in the size that I'm doing is for sleeves that hit just half sleeve. So then I can hopefully make a full sleeve. And I'm doing the size, oh, you know what, I didn't mark it down here. I don't remember which size I'm doing off the top of my head. I'll put the information here. And I did 3.5 millimeter needles for the ribbing, and I'm on 4.5 millimeter needles for the body. And the gauge is 20 stitches per 28 rows for your 4x4 inches. So far, I'm really enjoying it. And, okay, I think that's it for my cast-ons, for my works in progress. There we go. We're going to move on to acquisitions, which I do have a lot of because I was at Fibres West. Like I said, I was helping Megan at Bramble Ridge at her market stall. There we go. I was helping Megan from Bramble Ridge at her market stall at Fibres West on the Friday. I wasn't able to help on the Saturday. I wish I could have. I really wish I could have. But I was busy. I had some family stuff going on the Saturday. We had family out, and they were only here for a little bit of time, and I really only had that day to see them, so I couldn't help, unfortunately. But I helped on Friday. So I got to shop as well. She gave me, she's amazing. She's an amazing person. She's an amazing yarn dyer. When I say she gave me time to shop, I don't mean that in she was strict or anything. But I was able to go and shop while I was there as well. I do want to take a step back and talk about this cardigan again, because the reason I needed it knit by March the 21st was because we were going to be like the Pressed Flowers uniform was the plan. For Megan was going to do it, me, I think there were 3 other people that were on board for this vending there as well, or helping. I was the only one in our stall that got it done in time, unfortunately. So on the Friday when we went, I was the only one wearing it in the stall. Megan was so close to having hers done. She actually had it done in time for Saturday. She was doing the bind off Friday or the Thursday before the market on Friday. She was doing the bind off for the button band. Like, she was so close, but it was just too late. She needed to stop for the night, sort of thing. So she did not get it done till when she was back on Saturday. So she's got a beautiful Pressed Flowers cardigan that she got to wear Saturday, and I wore mine on the Friday. And the other woman that was helping us in the vending that helped Megan on Saturday as well, she did not get hers done in time either. So it was just me. So it wasn't a uniform after all, but that's okay. There was 2 other people at the market that had Pressed Flowers cardigans, and I got to see them wearing it for their vending. So that was fun. Anyways, I got it done in time. And then we did the market, and it was a lot of fun. I do have some pictures of her stall, so I'll probably put them up here. I took a couple pictures of her beautiful stall, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. I just helped for the day, and I did a little bit of shopping, like I said. So I'm going to show you guys what I bought. So I'm going to also swing back to this. So this leftover yarn that I have for my socks, I wanted to find a yarn that I could buy for the heels, toes, and cuffs. And my initial thought was I would just get some yarn from Megan, but then I went to, when I was doing my shopping, I found a very unique blend of yarn that I wanted to try, and they had a very plain colorway. So I actually ended up buying a couple of skeins from them because it was really unique. So I'm going to start with the plain one that I bought. I bought 3 skeins from this vendor because of the uniqueness to the yarn. It's from Crafty Jack's Boutique, and it is eclectic creations made with love, tough and tender, fingering weight. It is 90% superwash targi and 10% nylon, and I've never seen that combo before for like a sock yarn, or like, I feel like maybe not even any yarn. So I got this colorway. It's called Silver Mist. It's just a very light, it looks like a nice light gray, if you will. So let's pull it out of the little sleeve I've got it in. I already wound it up thinking that I would get ahead of the game and start making the sock already, but I didn't actually get around to it yet. But I did take some pictures of it in skein form and in ball form. I took some pictures of it, so I'll put it here. It's a really beautiful color, and I think it will look nice as like heels, toes, and cuffs. And I knew it because it's a full skein. It's 100 grams. It's way more than I need to pair with this. Like, I'm gonna have a ton left over. And so I'm planning on actually using this up for heels, toes, and cuffs for a lot of socks that I'm going to be making, just until it's done, sort of thing. So that's what I bought for the first, that's one of the ones that I bought there. And then I also bought, this is also for socks that I wanted to use this to pair with. And this is still Crafty Jack's Boutique, tough and tender. It's still the 90% superwash targi. I was going to say targi. 10% nylon. And it's this fun colorway. It's called Wild Flowers. And it's just so much fun colors. I think it would make very pretty socks. And then pair it with that. Right? I think that'll look nice. Okay, so that's all for socks. And then Megan from Bramble Ridge has, she had a couple of yarns that she had like in the discount bin. And I was oohing and awing over this one. So I got this one from her. This is the Last Chance one of a kind colorway in her 85 superwash merino, 15% nylon fingering weight yarn. It's just like a really pretty purple, has some maybe blue or grays in it. There, like a brighter patch there. Yeah, it's really pretty. Oh, you know what? Let me show this part here too. This fun little coloring there. Okay, so when I got this, I was like, I want it in a garment, but it's one skein. I can't make a garment from this. So I'm like, why don't I, while I'm at the market, buy one skein of fingering weight yarn for a couple of vendors, and I can make the stripe pipe sweater with it. So like this one, and then I would just need, I'll probably go get some fingering weight plain, like a white or gray from Megan to pair with it for the in between neutral colors. And then I wanted to get 4 other skeins from 4 different vendors to pair with this. So at Crafty Jacks, I also got one more skein, which is this one, which is again the same blend with the 90% superwash targi and the 10% nylon in this pretty, it's called Marvelous Mango. Marvelous Mango is the colorway. Such a beautiful, bright, kind of orangey color. Is that coming through there? There we go. That looks a bit more natural color there. So I bought that one to go with it. I'll put these all up close too. And then I went to, swung by, I'm not going to do this in order for who I saw next because I don't remember. Then I went to K-Zip Knits and I got this one. It's called Charcoal. That's their logo. And then I went to All Points North, which is a yarn company that's in like 100 Mile House, I think. And this one's called Briquet. I'm not gonna say this word right. Anyways, this is this beautiful neutrally kind of maybe purpley gray colorway. Super pretty. I'll show you the name if it'll come through. It's written in green, so it's like not easy to see. But that's their logo. And then I bought this one from Souk Yarn and Fiber, and this one is Chatty Deep Ocean colorway. And it is in the, 75 superwash merino, 25 nylon. I think all the rest are this kind of blend. Okay, it's coming through really blue. It is not blue. It's turquoise teal color. Let's see if we can get it to show proper. I don't think it's going to look... I might have to color adjust this because it's not blue. It's turquoise. So these are the 5 colors that I want to use for my stripe pipe sweater. I think it's showing turquoise now, actually. I have a little bit of a distance there. Yeah. So that's what I got for my stripe pipe sweater. I'm so excited to be able to start this. It probably won't be something I start until summer or the fall because I've got so many other things on the list. But after I got that one color from Megan at Bramble Ridge, I just knew I had to make something that could show it off, and I really wanted to support other vendors at the market, but I had a limited budget and I wanted to support more than just one, so I thought this was the perfect way to do it. Stripe pipe sweater. Okay, so those are all the yarns that I got, and then I did buy a few other little knick-knacky things. Okay. First, I had to buy this bag because it's an awesome combination of Bluey and my friend, I'm going to say the wrong movie, I think, but I'll put the name of it out because I'm blanking on it right now. Isn't that adorable? And like blue is not usually my color. I'm not a big blue person, but I had to have this one because of Bluey. And then inside, oh, okay, so I'll put the name. This is from Little So-and-so Company. Little So-and-so made that bag. And then I went to Mud Buttons Company. I'm not sure if that's the name. I think that was the name of their company, Mud Buttons. So I wanted some cool buttons. So I bought these buttons from them.
Hopefully that's showing up. I'll take a picture if it's not coming through, but they're just so pretty. And it's not like tarnished or anything. It's like painted on. And then you got a free button if you bought something from them. So this was, whoops. This was the free button I chose because I love orange and coral colors.
Okay, and then the last thing I got, I wanted to get stitch protectors, or like, sorry, needle protectors, needle point protectors. And so there was a booth there for that, and I am blanking on the name of that booth, and unfortunately I didn't get a tag for it or anything. None of this came with a tag, so I will put their name here. I'll find it in the vendor information, and I'll put all of it here, or all of it down in my description, because it's just amazing, all the people there, so amazing. But I got a bunch of needle protectors, and I want to show you the ones that I got. These ones first, because, you know, who can resist Bluey and Bingo? And it's in their heads that you put the needles. And then I got these ones that say handmade with love. And I didn't want to get matchy-matchy, but I wanted to get similar. So I didn't get the same colors, but I got the same theme. And then I got little spools of yarn or thread there. And lastly, I got these little like baskets of yarny goodness. Yeah. Okay. And that's everything. And I had a blast. It was so much fun, and I'm so glad I got to go, even if it's just for the Friday. And I really hope that I can help Megan in the future at those vendors. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people. Yeah, it was enjoyable. Okay. Anyways, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Next episode, I'm going to hopefully have a different sweater for that blue yarn. And who knows, maybe a completed sweater. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!